we had a little klezmer music going on there.
I liked it.
Yeah, I know. I know. Okay, sorry, but
got my blood going.
Wrong intro, So it's so funny. I do so many shows. I don't even remember what show I'm on anymore.
You're on the best one right now.
That's right, the best one. That's right.
Wow.
Well, yeah,
like a true movie star.
Oh, I can show you. Oh, I can show you that. Hey, we're on this show right now. Let Us Reason Together, and it's based on Isaiah 1:18, which is in the Bible. It's in the Old Testament. You can look it up, but I can just tell you right now. It says, "Come now and let us reason together," says the Lord. Though your sins are as scarlet, they will be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they will be like wool. Well, let me ask you this. Do you recognize the world anymore? Is it flat? Is it round? Is it flat and round? Like a donut that's void of voids? Think about it. That's flat. That's round. This is just one of thousands of theories that have surfaced or resurfaced in the past 70 years. On this week's episode of Let Us Reason Together, Rabbi David Weiss, that guy down there, man of God, Larry Segeri, and me, God-fearer, Mark David Smith, are going to continue our journey through the changes we've seen through those 70 years. Some call us wiseacres, some call us gramps, but it's the one that I'm most frequently called and that's Silver Fox. So that's the one I like.
I seen one of those on the side of the road.
He used to be a country singer, Charlie Pride. I think no, not Charlie Pride. Charlie something or other. He had silver hair. He was called the Silver Fox.
Yeah, well, it's not silver; it's platinum blonde.
Oh,
it is. That's why I get this kind of yellow light up here, is to make my hair look more blonde than white or gray or whatever.
Well, I'm glad we shared that.
His name was Charlie Rich. That was his name.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the Silver Fox. Yeah. Okay, I kind of remember that. My mom and dad liked him. Yeah, you bet. Well, there is one thing that has not changed in forever, and that's bullying. Okay, I have found out this past week that Rudolph was not allowed to play in his co-workers' reindeer games. My friends, that's bullying. The
he
same.
Should have taken it to the,
what?
He should have taken it to the what do they call that department?
Yeah, the human resources.
Yeah, human resources.
Yeah, he should have. That's fact. So we just won't stand for bullying here on this show whatsoever at all. So you guys lay off me, will you? On our last show, we shared several aspects of what we remember of the last 70 years. Mostly we talked about music and TV shows and movies that were popular back in the 50s and today and things like that. But this past week, I got to thinking, my daughter and her husband and my two grandkids, which we're like 1,500 miles away from and don't really get to see them hardly ever at all. They now have technology set up where somebody can hang their phone, their smartphone, like on the fence and broadcast the game. And we as grandparents can be 1,500 miles away and literally watch my grandson's baseball game.
Wow.
I mean, that technology we never even considered back when we were, kids or growing up or whatever like that. But that is, and we can actually make it come up on our monitor, our TV, and watch our grandson play baseball. I mean, that's amazing technology. Also, this past week they had a bunch of tornadoes and heavy storms go through Oklahoma and southeast Kansas, and that's where we're from. And so we tap into the television stations in Oklahoma City and southeast Kansas, and we can literally watch the weather and what's going through there and watch the weather guys talk and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We can watch where our grandchildren or our kids are at. And I mean, that technology is just amazing to me.
It is.
That we can sit practically anywhere in the world and watch anywhere in the world.
Yeah. When we were kids,
yeah,
it was a rarity to see our favorite baseball team on television. You had to know which of the 3 stations it was on, and they didn't broadcast all the time. Now you can watch any team, any sport, anywhere in the world.
You kind of have to be independently wealthy because those ESPN special things, those things are real expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to really love sports to get this.
Yeah, you got to be a junkie. Yeah. and you have to watch it 24 hours a day to get your money's worth.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
And speaking of watching stuff, one day a man showed up at our house and he was walking in the backyard. I said, "Excuse me, who are you?" He said, "I'm from the insurance company. Our satellite, the satellite up in space, looked at all of our clients' properties. And yours was flagged because you have a trampoline back there. You'll either have to get rid of the trampoline or we're going to drop you as an insurance, as a holder of our insurance." So, we all know that Zillow makes use of the satellites that have basically taken pictures of everything, certainly in America, if not the rest of the world. And you can look at any property and see, and you can't see what's going on in real time, but you may see a picture that's 2 or 3 years old. But there are satellites that have a picture of everybody's property.
Wow. Well, Google Earth. I
that's it.
Entire DVD presentation based on Google Earth and what I found.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And so it's been around a little while, but oh my gosh, thinking about when we were kids, we would have never even dreamed of things like the stuff that we can do today and see today.
Yeah. And what real estate agents do with drones, I think, is wonderful and amazing, where they can show a house and the way the drone is smooth and slow, it's a nice presentation. But technology has advanced so far. I mean, one day, it's a good thing that you're in charge of your own station, Mark, because one day AI might replace you. And hey, have you ever thought about having an AI, Mark?
Oh, brother, you have no idea what I've been through.
Oh my!
Oh my God! You realize the station was down for 3 days last week?
Yeah, he told us.
And it was because of an AI bot.
Wow,
is what it was. I have an audio problem with some of my broadcasts on the station. And so for about 3 or 4 months now, I've been solid every single day, 7 days a week, looking for something and trying things out. And I thought I finally found what I needed, but the software company that I was trying out, they use an AI bot to help you get it set up. Well, literally took me 15 hours. Or let's put it this way. After 15 hours, I finally deleted everything, took everything down that had anything to do with them, and told them to give me all my money back. Well, within an hour, I got all my money back for it. They gave me every penny back that I'd paid for all the service, but I wasted 15 hours letting an AI bot tell me how to set up what I needed to set up. And all I needed was a player. That's all I needed. I just wanted to change out our player. And so don't get me started on bots or AI, or because I'm a true advocate of AI. I really am. I mean, I've got a lot of really good things until this. And anyway, so yeah, don't get me started, man. I'm very upset about that. And we're right back where we started. So anyway.
And 30 years ago, you didn't have to worry about that problem.
No, that's right. I'm with you. I'm the one that wants to do all this and use the technology. The problem is I have to have 5 different softwares all working at exactly the same time, working together from completely different companies. I have to have that happening just so we can broadcast. So I know I had to have 8 to do audio, to do our radio station back in the day. Anyway, let's get on with the show. So what I have on the list, the first topic, are school systems. Both of you guys, and we've talked about this briefly and everything, but I mean the difference in school systems back when we were going to school. I mean, I think all 3 of us can still remember a little bit of our schools. But, so I asked both of you guys to tell us the distinct differences, without going into a lot of detail, but distinct differences of what you remember school and what it is today.
Well, we were talking before the show started about today being May Day.
Oh, that's right.
And school systems all across the country, including the school system in North Carolina here, have taken the day off, when I remember May Day being a celebration for communist countries, when they would parade their military and they would show the world that, they are top dog people. But here we are taking May Day off to do protests so the teachers can go to, in North Carolina, they're going to Raleigh to protest and get recognition so that teachers could get more pay. Mm-hmm. When I started off teaching, there was no way that we would ever get days off for anything. And I remember our local superintendent, if he could see the flagpole from his office, even though it was snowing abundantly, let's say, he would not call school off until he could not see. But today, they're taking days off to protest. Up in Chicago, they're carting the kids to downtown Chicago to protest. They're teaching the kids how to protest. Mm-hmm. And that's an amazing thing for me.
Wow. That's a big difference. Yeah, I'm with you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, May Day has such a storied past, and it's not only about workers' rights, but it's also about weather and agrarian culture. There's just so many things that are going on, and and I kind of go back. We talked about, you mentioned the Old Testament. I think we need to start a new thing and change Old Testament to Older Testament. Because if you tell me I'm older, I'll say, sure, I sure am. But if you tell me I'm old, them's fighting words. So I think if we start changing old to older on the right, and newer. Oh, I'll be bringing up the Newer Testament later on.
I like it.
Anyway, so
I like it a lot.
I don't know where I was going with this. Oh, schools.
Yeah.
So we were talking about how schools are basically different. I have 3 areas where I find schools have changed the most. And one is the shift away from the seat of power from administration to parents. The second way it's changed is technology that has really helped the teacher to enliven classes and get kids more engaged. And that's a wonderful thing. And the third use of technology is what ruined it for me and made me retire after 37 years. And that was that the schools didn't really know what to do with smartphones. And again, that goes back to the first item where the seat of power was an admin, where they should just have kids seal their phones up in their lockers. And you know, and if a kid has a phone, they need to be tough about piling on a penalty, which they backed off of and when they first came in. So every kid having a smartphone in class is very, very hard for the teachers to compete with. And I think that's going to be a downfall if they don't deal with it. Anyway, so those are the three things. You know, parents being more in control, and the technology was a great thing. That made my teaching job a whole lot more fun. Back when we were starting out, we actually hand cranked the copy machine, pouring in alcohol, sticking in the little what's called the ditto.
Yeah.
And hand cranking it. And we thought that was high tech.
The purple monster. Yeah. And all the kids used to get their sheets and sniff it.
Yeah, it smelled like mayonnaise. And then we had the overhead projector where the teacher would actually on a transparent piece of paper. You had to zero it in, and we thought that was high tech, you know. And then, you know, by the time in my last 15 years of teaching, there was a projector up on the ceiling, and it was connected with your computer, and you could have very fast-paced, beautiful presentations, and just it was really good.
Man, it was cool to play with that too, because I could print something out and then hit a button. I would print it out on the board. I hit a button and it would turn into cursive, and the kids couldn't read it at all because nobody teaches cursive anymore. It's like, what's that? Well, let me teach you.
Wow.
Because I used to ask them, okay, we're going to practice our signatures now. And they would all print their names. Like, that's not a signature. Wow. So here, this is an L. And the kids were fascinated by it.
Really?
Yeah. You look at signatures today, and it's like in the former days when all they would do is put an X there. Yeah. And that's basically because they don't teach cursive anymore. It's like the kids aren't intelligent enough to learn cursive. It's like,
there are some school systems that have what's called one cursive day a month, and the whole day is related to practicing your cursive handwriting. I mean, using it throughout the day, not just drilling cursive handwriting, but actually utilizing it one day a month so they don't forget.
Now,
they don't write. The kids of today don't write, though.
Right.
They type. See?
Yeah.
And so learning cursive, why? See, to me, that's where I think their thought pattern is, this is cool, but I'm never going to use it because I don't write.
You know, one day we're all going to be sitting in lounges, chair lounges that are powered by drones. And it's going to be like the movie WALL-E, where we're all going to grow fat and and having no muscle tone, because why walk when you can just fly around?
You bet.
Going to your analysis with the parents getting more say in the education of their kids, back when we were kids, parents trusted the teachers because the teachers were teaching what the curriculum said. But nowadays, when parents find out what is being taught in the classroom, they're amazed, if not totally angry about what's going on in the classrooms. Yeah. And I believe it has to do with the way that teachers are being taught to teach in the colleges. I mean, they are advocates of a particular political philosophy now, rather than just teaching kids. We heard about the kid that was at the press banquet last Saturday, and everybody's identifying him as a teacher. He's a teacher. And I looked him up, and he was a tutor getting kids ready for the SATs. He didn't have a teaching certificate. He didn't have certification in any state, but they're all labeling him as a teacher. And it's like, how, but teaching has changed. Teaching colleges have changed. And that has led to parents wanting to know more about what's going on in their kids' classroom.
And yet I have heard news story after news story after news story about how teachers don't tell the parents a lot of different things. Like if a kid wants to be identified as something, a certain way, they don't have to tell the parents that they're now considering their son, their 14-year-old son, as a girl because he doesn't want his parents to know, but he's making the school identify him that way. And I mean, so many other things that parents don't know because the teachers aren't going to tell them. That I mean, that's not the only thing. There's other stuff, but I hear that on the news too. Man, back in the day, if you wanted to, there's one of the things. If I'd have gone to school in a dress and said I'm now a girl, I'd been the laughing stock of literally the laughing stock of the school system. And they'd have called my parents and said, come and get your son. He's dressed up in a dress and says he's a girl. So, what's the closest asylum that we can get him to?
Yeah.
Well, in the olden days, kids would be bullied. And I think we're at a tipping point now where it's, kids will look at a boy who comes in with his fingernails painted and a lot of makeup on and, maybe wearing a dress, and they're just not going to think twice about it. They don't bully them, and they don't think twice about it. And we would hope that kids aren't influenced, and I don't think they would be influenced into thinking, well, I need to do it too because they're doing it. You don't have that many that are doing it in terms of the entire population. But it's at least they're not being bullied anymore. Now, but I still think that kids should have to at least go by the names of their gender at birth. I remember this was about almost 20 years ago. There was a girl in my class who would dress like a boy and shaped her hair like a boy and insisted on being called by a different name, which was a boy's name. And I went down to the principal. I said, now, as Dave Chappelle once said, you can call yourself whatever you want, but you can't make me call you by that name. And I said to the principal, do I have to call her by this boy's name? And one time she said a good comment in a class discussion, and I was referring to what a good comment she said. And as soon as I said the word she, bam, her hand hit the desk real loud, like she was angry. And that's when I went to the principal. I said, do I have to use male pronouns? And it's false. It goes against what I believe. And do I have to do it? The principal said, Mr. Weiss, are you sure this is a fight you want to fight? Because I don't think you're going to win the higher up it goes.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much, and that's the kowtowing. Nowadays a principal, he wants to keep his job or her job, and if the winds of political shifting are going towards more liberalism and away from what God has ordained, that's the way the principals are going to have to do it. Otherwise, they're going to have to find a job in a Christian school if they want to be an administrator.
Yeah. My experience was I was accused of bullying one of my students, and I was suspended for a week. And at the beginning of the suspension, I had to go meet the superintendent. And the first words out of his mouth were, "I hope you got a good lawyer." And it's like, well, thank you for that support.
Yeah, really.
It's like,
Wait, wasn't that a private school you were in?
No, this was a public school.
Wow.
Well, the truth came out and everything turned out all right. But that was a week that wasn't exactly a good week for me. But
wow.
Yeah.
So
Unreal.
and in past when things came up, like maybe 10 years before this incident, you would go into the superintendents and they would say, I know your character. I know what you're like. I know your reputation. So don't worry, we've got you covered.
Yes.
This was like, I hope you got a good lawyer. Thanks, bud. And he was a former classroom teacher too. And it's like, really?
He's protecting his position, and that's what they all do.
Yeah.
Well, you both have kids. When they were real young and throwing tantrums, did you just let them throw the tantrums, or did you stop that crap straight out and this ain't happening in my house kind of thing, and punish them, or did you just let the tantrums go?
Wait till I wait till I get it. Wait till we get to where we're going, boy.
Yeah.
That kind of.
Yeah.
Don't make me stop this car.
Yeah. I mean, it's as a matter of fact, yesterday was called Spank Out Day. And it's a day that you don't spank your child or anything like that. I know, because on the show I did, The World We Live In, we talked about it. And it's funny because it's Child Awareness Day and all of this kind of, or Child Health Day and stuff too, but it's also Spank Out Day. My point, what I'm trying to get at here is, we're three grown, mature men that have been through all this. If you take a child that throws tantrums and you just let them throw their tantrums and they get away, you give them whatever they want to stop them from throwing a tantrum, indifferent than holding them accountable for that. And this is not the way that people get what they want. If we teach them, either way, how that the one that throws tantrums and gets away with it, what kind of person they are when they grow up. Indifferent than the ones that you spare the rod, spoil the child. If we punish and spank our kids and hold them accountable, look at the person that they are when they grow up. Now you look at these kids like what David was just talking about, the girl that wanted to be identified as a boy. What kind of parents did she have? She had the parents that let her get away with whatever she wanted to get away with. And that to me is the difference of when I was growing up. Us kids were not in charge.
No.
We were not in charge, not in the families we grew up in, not in our school, nothing like that. But today you can pretty much pull off anything you want and get it to have a tantrum, and there's no accountability for it. That's the way I see it.
Right.
Well, kids cannot have tantrums in school because we could always call security. You know, no matter how young the child is you can always call security, because what he's doing is the child is virtually stealing time away from the other 29 students. And so on that basis alone, the child can be removed from the room, because the teacher can't leave the room like they did in the olden days to go make copies because something might happen. You have to call security, and security would have to take the child out. Now, nothing would happen to the child. He would just calm down somewhere. But maybe that was his whole intent in the first place, was if I throw a tantrum, I can have a more interesting day than in this boring class. Who knows?
Reward.
That's really kind of not the point, though. The point is that the kids today have not been held accountable for things that they do wrong when they're growing up. So when they get to school, they think they can do the same things, and because the school allows it to happen, they get away with it today. So it's like the kids are in control, not the administration, not the parents, not the teachers, that type of thing. You know, that's what I see. You know, and I'm not a part of it, but it seems like everywhere.
And I'll tell you why there's a problem, because I spoke to an administrator about it. See, you can't spank kids anymore, and probably shouldn't anyway. But the ultimate tool the principal has is to put the kid in what's called OSS, out of school suspension. And that means the kid has to stay home. He can't come to school for 1 to 5 days, depending on the infraction. And if there's enough of those, then the kid gets removed from the school and gets put in an alternative school. Okay. But at the end of the year, the teachers are evaluated based on how many suspensions they have. And if the more suspensions they have, it looks like they're not in control. They have to use this tool to put the kid out. They're not redeeming the kid, so to speak. And so a lot of principals want to protect their position.
Right.
And they try to have a school with fewer suspensions and fewer out of school suspensions, and in school, like I said. So you got everybody protecting their position instead of just taking a stand. And, because if the kid is put out of this, if he can't be in a group class with others, now it's all about rehabilitation, reorientation. So if there's a fight, it's not about suspending the kid. It's about having the kid say, I'm sorry, and being forgiven, and all is done. But he still got that punch in. And the thing is like, our society is kind of lost understanding the role of consequences. God is a forgiving God, but we still have consequences for ungodly behavior. And there should be consequences and forgiveness at the same time.
But that goes back to the curses and the blessings. God said there are blessings for
That's right.
Good behavior,
Yeah,
behavior that He appreciates and that He backs up. And as a result of you not doing those things, there are consequences. The translators call it curses, but it's not curses. It's just a natural thing that happens. You're not going to live a good situation. And that is lost today. There's no such thing as consequences for what kids do. We will try and deal with what you're feeling now. And when feelings get involved in the situation, I don't care who you are, you can't negotiate, because it's your feelings against my feelings. And that gets to the concept of, is God fair? Fairness is relative. God is not relative. He either has mercy or he has justice.
Yeah. I've appointed you to do the drosh next week, Larry. That was really good.
Yeah, that's good. I'm with you. What I mean, what about like school shootings? I mean, when we were growing up, going to school, I walked to school 8 blocks to get to school and home every day and the whole thing. And oh my gosh, if there was a gun anywhere near our school, my gosh, anyway, I remember growing up and not ever, all the way through high school, never thought about it,
Yeah.
And so what was the first one? Trying to think, Columbine. Remember Columbine and how the United States was like just shocked, absolutely shocked that something like this could happen. And now I watch news segments every day, and it's like if there was a school shooting, they did 2.5 minutes on it. If there's a bar that got shot up, they do 2.5 minutes on it. If some guy opens a machine gun in the middle of 150 people, they do 2.5 minutes on it. It's like it's so common now. We'll touch on it, but it's no big deal.
Yeah. Well, in terms of education, I'm glad that we had a reaction to Columbine in which we had more security in the schools. Because
too bad it has to happen.
Yeah, too bad it has to happen. But still, I don't know what well, I do know what the campuses up north are. They're all inclusive. But down here in the South, you go from building to building, from field to building and stuff like that. It's not all inclusive. There's not one gigantic building that you stay in. And I believe it has to do with mental illness more than what some political party wants to do is take away all guns. I think it has to do with mental illness. And we're not really identifying why this is happening. We're just trying to make it a political issue. And I know a lot of students that I've had, I've wondered about their not their political, but their psychological wherewithal, because you at the end of the day, I would think back at some of the comments that I would make, and that one boy that was sitting there not reacting, or that one girl that was sitting there not reacting to anything that was going on in the classroom. You'd wonder, would there be something that I said that would trigger? And this was for the most part in middle school, on the verge of being a teenager or a brand new teenager. In high school, I didn't have that problem. Kids were vocal. If you did come across a kid that just sat there, I would talk with the other teachers and see if it was happening in their classroom too, and stuff. And if it did, it was just that kid was quiet. But if it was only happening in my classroom, it's like, because I dealt with politics and history and stuff like that. If it was only happening in my classroom, I would be kind of wary of what was going on. I try to engage the person a little bit more to see if there's a mental problem.
Yeah.
Well, the schools, a big problem is we're back to bullying, because why does a child bring a gun and decide I'm checking out of this life and I'm taking a lot of people with me? And when a child gets to that point, he has no hope left in his life. And most of these kids are bullied in some way. I really believe they are. And a kid who wants to make something of his life doesn't throw it away by shooting somebody. So when the kids are have a sense of hopelessness, and the bullying can happen in a lot of ways the parents don't even know. It could be online bullying, which is very common, and then you have, and then you have bullying in school, which schools aren't doing a whole lot about. A kid defends himself in school, and he gets the same punishment as the one who started it.
Yeah.
It's the schools don't know how to really deal with bullies anymore. I mean, sending a kid to reform school is something that's just not, I don't think it's really done anymore.
No.
It's like, well, the kid just needs help when they are a bully.
Right.
So let's treat him with love instead, and let's rehabilitate him. Let him say sorry and all will be forgiven. Like, boy, the kids learn that game real fast if they are bullies. But the ones who are bullied are the ones who are really damaged. And
True.
And schools need to address that problem, especially having better tools to know when online bullying is going on. And instead of just saying, well, it's not a school problem because it didn't happen in school. Well, it happened. School is involved because they met in school that this one kid is bullying another kid. So schools need to take a much stronger stance on bullying and let there be consequences. I think we're back to that. And I think when kids get a sense of hope that, if somebody tries to bully me, that other one's going to be dealt with. I think that's needed.
We all need hope. Yeah.
I'm with you.
I wonder, did our teachers back in the day have to deal with this?
Well, you didn't have the online footprint, so your parameter of who you knew when you were a child was maybe going to be about 40 or 50 people in any day, in any given day. And now it's literally tens of thousands of people, especially if you're posting stuff online. Mm-hmm. You're getting comments back. In school, if kids, have a phone or a burner phone where they're having an online footprint, which they all do, their emotions can be really pulled this way and that. And their parents would never know about it because that's a private part of the kid's life that he doesn't share, but it still can bother him a lot. So, I think I think in some ways that sometimes the best thing a kid can do is not have a phone to deal with,
right,
or have real limitations on it until he's mature enough to understand what online involvement actually means.
Yeah,
I was thinking back when phones became a big problem, and my sons and daughters didn't have phones when they were in high school, and they were out by 2004. So this has happened in the last 22 years, and it's just gotten worse and worse. So I believe it can be solved. Mm-hmm. But like you said, David, we have to analyze it not in terms of fairness again, but in terms of giving people hope and dealing with reality, not puff kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
One of the big things that, I mean, it looks like I've seen, but in the few years is kids raising kids. You've got from our generation, the younger they are, they start having sex and they have kids. And now you have 15 to 18-year-olds that have no maturity whatsoever at all. And now they've got to raise that kid, and pretty soon they move away from their parents' house, and they still have that kid, but they have no accountability. They're still immature, and they're raising that kid to be immature and to make wrong decisions based on the things that they make wrong decisions on. And it just like seems to have snowballed into where we are today. It's just an extreme society of children that are raising children. And it keeps going and keeps going, and they don't know any different. The kids don't know any different. You know, our parents did not raise us like that at all. Our parents raised us with accountability and with making good, solid, mature decisions. Even when we were in our late teens, we had to make good, solid decisions, and we were accountable for that. But the farther it's gone, and that's what I see. I think it just 100% starts with who raised you. 100%.
I would agree with that. And the phenomenon that I've come across is in rural areas, like I've taught for the last 22 years of my career, you have drug problems. And what happens is the mothers go into rehab and they don't come out really. And what you have is grandparents raising the kids. And they are usually very tired. I know if I had to raise kids right now, it would be a big burden. And so you have older people raising these young kids without any experience of what's going on in life. You know, like we didn't have this problem when we raised our kids, but there's these problems now that we're just not experienced with. And so the kids have reign with their grandparents. They reign over them, and they play the card of, well, if you don't let me do what I want to do, grandma, grandpa, then you don't really love me, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And sure, you know, that is a phenomenon that I know. I don't know if we had that when we were kids, but it's very common in this rural area that I live in now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's validating those feelings, you know, and that's even become a phrase in psychology. Well, you know, your feelings may be a little misplaced, but we have to validate that your feelings are real. And once, you know, look, when I used to complain to my mother and I would say, like, you hurt my feelings. And my mother would do this, playing the little violins, and she would say, tell it to the Marines. I don't care. Like, I mean, that did bother me when she said that, but I understood that she wasn't going to give in to just my feelings. You know?
That's good. Yeah, that's the generation we came from. It really is, because all of our parents were that way. I never got away with anything at all. My brother got away with everything, but
here we go.
That's all that, you know. That's what it was. Just this past week, just a couple of days ago, as a matter of fact, there was a news story about a kid. I think he was like maybe 14 or 15, and he had in some city, and he had this scooter that he drove around everywhere, and he was not licensed to drive the scooter or nothing, but his parents let him, and he actually got arrested one time, and, you know, not really arrested, but stopped, and the police, you know, told him, you can't be driving this scooter and you don't have a license, and, you know, the whole thing. Well, his parents went ahead and let him keep riding his scooter, and he hit an old man and killed him. And they are holding the parents accountable for what he did, because they allowed, even though they had the cops had already told them he can't do this, he doesn't have a license, he can't drive this, they let him do it anyway, and the parents are being held accountable. This just happened I think this week.
You know, if the parents can't do what parents are supposed to do and hold the kid accountable, then the parents are held accountable.
I think so too.
And, you know, and especially if the child is young, like the case of the parents recently, I think it was the father, you know, the kid, he let the kid shoot the AR-15 and then the kid started showing disturbing behavior, and the father got him his own AR-15. And then the you know, the kid ended up shooting somebody in school. Right. And then they held the parents.
Right.
The parents got convicted of manslaughter.
Right.
It's like parents are going to have to start raising their kids again.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll phase anybody.
Really?
I don't. Not anymore. It doesn't. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, buddy. All right. Well, we've done almost a whole hour on this. This is once again, it's so funny. You just never know how much we'll come up with on this, and so this has been great. You know, the only other thing I had in this section was about you know, online schools during COVID. You know, is, you know, the difference in what had happened. How long was that? About a year and a half that they had online school. You know, how did that work out? Does that good, bad, ugly? Do we remember? I wasn't a part of it, so I don't know.
I hated it because it took so much work to get things for the kids so that they could do it on their own, and then they wouldn't do it anyway, but they weren't held responsible for it because it was a brand new thing. So it's like at the end of this, because it started for us in March of, I think it was
2020.
Yeah. And so that was, we had another quarter to go, and at the end of the year we weren't supposed to hold any of them responsible for not doing any work. We just passed them on.
Yeah. The teachers were literally told nobody is going to fail this year. You will give everybody at least.
Really?
They're going to pass.
Yeah.
Wow.
And to me, that became a trend in the next year. The kids knew that they didn't have to do any work. And it was like, what? And I went to the principal and said, you know, we've got to get back the mindset that kids are responsible for the grades. And he was like, well, it's from headquarters. I can't do anything about it. It's like, but I hated it because I would have to do like 3 times as much work to get a particular lesson put together using the computer. And if you were a computer company or a software company, you loved it because all the other teachers were just going to these software things. And I don't know. I don't trust it. I don't trust what they're teaching and stuff like that without going through it myself. And there was no time to go through the thing. But a lot of the teachers just, you know, plugged their kids into that stuff. And then they sat around.
I'm amazed it was even legal, because you have kids that are under 18 that, I mean, the whole idea of being in school is that they're supervised in loco parentis, to use the Latin term.
Yeah.
And once kids are at home and there's no supervision, no parents, because the parents have to work.
Right.
There goes my naked little sister running behind me.
Yeah.
And suddenly I'm accused of child pornography.
Yeah, really.
And then you have the teenager who says, I have to go to the bathroom. And he comes back after doing a bong of marijuana. And so, you know, that's what it was for what, a year or 2 years?
Yeah.
Until everybody started getting vaccinated and they let everybody back in.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a really tough time in the history of this country for kids, and a lot of education was lost.
Yeah. And
I could just imagine the kid coming back after smoking a bong, and they say, how come your eyes are all red? He says, well, my poop stunk real bad. You
Thanks, Mark. Just goes to show you what would have happened if that would have happened to us when we were kids.
That's right. That's exactly right. I'm with it. So did you guys ever get the thought, just the thought that what if this is permanent? What if COVID is going to be permanent and we're going to have to do you ever think about that? Or did you think, no, this is temporary, we'll go back?
I didn't think about it because I was in the last 3 months of school before I retired. So,
I mean, I knew that it was they were going to get a vaccine for it eventually because it's just another type of flu, I guess.
Right.
Although a little, it could be more deadly. But the problem is that what other types of things are going to happen in the future that are going to get us all sick, and I'm looking more at the future. Is this a sign of what's to come? That we're going to have things that because we travel more, are worldwide disasters from new illnesses going to start hitting us more and more with each decade.
I'm with you. We, of course, Lamb was going at that time. A lot of different. It did affect us, but it was right before COVID that we transitioned from a radio station, which was all audio, to a television station where we went all video. And what happened was at the end of 2018, going into 2019, Skype, which was what we used to get our broadcast going. In other words, when I had the Messianic Lamb radio, is we used Skype to get our voices to the station and do our shows. Well, Skype was changing their whole format, everything about it. Well, like I said earlier, I needed 8 different softwares to work at the same time to make it happen. And Skype was screwing all of that up because it wasn't working for my radio station. So that's when I went to look into video, to doing video for the station instead of audio. And that's when it progressed into who we are. My point is that Skype messed up so bad in 2019 by changing things around that when COVID started and everybody had to start going to broadcasting and doing their stuff online, they went to Zoom instead of Skype. And, Skype is just non-existent anymore. I mean, you can still get it, but hardly anybody ever uses it. And anytime you hear about somebody, getting together for meetings or stuff like that, it's always Zoom. And Zoom was a little company before COVID, and COVID changed that whole perspective on that. Yeah. And people started using Zoom. It was very prevalent to me because I had to change over to, everything. So the Lord actually had gotten us ready for COVID before COVID even happened by doing this with Skype and making us change everything. So 2019 was our changeover. But I thought it was interesting. I mean, it's just stuff that we never would have thought about when we were growing up.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yep.
The closest we had was PBS.
Yeah,
which actually had classroom situations. I watched scientific experiments and stuff like that, and we would watch that in school for like 15 minutes, and that was it.
How interesting. All right. Well, we've done an hour on this one topic. So we'll see what happens next month. First Friday of every month, we are doing the 70s show, that 70 Years of Change show. And next week, we'll be back to doing topics. And so join us then, and we'll see what happens. But right now, it's Mr. David coming up to give us his deal. And I guess so Larry's doing it next week, huh?
No.
The Torah portion teaching next week.
I did mine already.
That's what David said. So all right, here we go. Friday, here we go.
My way's bad, my way is so bad. Your way's good, your way makes me glad. My way's bad, my way is so bad. Your way's good, your way makes me glad. Torah, Torah.
Shalom, shalom. This is the sign for El Shaddai. And for those of you that don't know it, but were fans of Star Trek, when Spock was asked to come up with a sign for Vulcan, all he knew was he was Jewish, by the way. And so Leonard Nimoy, all he knew was the Shaddai sign. So he would say, live long and prosper. And I just wanted to throw that one out there. We are in the middle of the counting of the Omer, and you know, we don't have that much longer to go. I believe it might be 2, maybe 3 weeks at most. And so here we are, and in the middle, and you know, the counting of the Omer we are leading up to a time of just we should all want greater fulfillment from the Lord. And you know, if you're in a rut with your walk with God, just ask God to take you out of it, take you out of that rut. Because if you think I've achieved all I can with my relationship with the Lord, and I think I'm at the pinnacle of where a believer should be, boy, that's a dangerous place to be. We should always, you know, we don't want to be the same a year from now as we are right now. One reason why we go through all the feast days is not just to celebrate them for the times they are, but that we should ask God to deposit something in our soul in each and every feast day, each and every Shabbat. We should ask God to deposit something in us that will bring us to a greater state of holiness and enjoying that being asked of God to want to be more holy with each passing year. If we're at the same place next year that we are right now in terms of our holiness, then we haven't done our part. And I'm going to talk about holiness, especially among the priests, in today's Parsha. This is Parsha Emor, and it's about how do we wear the priestly uniform. We know that uniforms are important. You know, that people that wear, look, if a police officer who's wearing a uniform, if he does something that's bad or illegal, they're not going to print his name. The first thing they're going to say is police officer charged with such and such, because when you put on the uniform, you represent the entire group who's been given an assignment and been given a task. And so we find the same thing with teachers, nurses, priests, the military. We stand for something when we wear the uniform. And so in chapter 21 of Leviticus, Adonai says to Moshe, speak to the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron, and tell them a Kohen is not to defile himself for the dead among his people, except for his close relatives, mother, father, son, daughter, brother, and for his virgin sister, who is never married and is dependent on him. He may defile himself. He may not make himself unclean, being a chief among his people. So the Kohanim cannot touch any one of the dead except for his close relatives. But Adonai is merciful. He's a merciful God. He knows that can the Kohanim really do his job as the Kohen if he's not allowed to even touch the one a member of his close family that he's loved all of his life. I mean, so God is merciful in that regard. But interestingly enough, the Kohen Gadol cannot touch the dead body of even the very closest relative, because he's just too important in the job that he does. In fact, it says even in the person he is to marry, the Kohen is not to marry a woman who is a harlot or has been profaned or who has been divorced, because he is holy for his God. And later it says he must marry a virgin. God forgives all sins, but he knows, God is a forgiving God. You might think, well, if the priest really loves somebody who has been reformed and has been forgiven, why can't he marry that person? Because we know that sometimes baggage, not caused by the person, but just as an effect of how they might have lived their life. The woman I'm talking about, sometimes that baggage may follow that reformed and forgiven woman into her new marriage. And now the priest has to be sometimes distracted, dealing with maybe her previous husband, or maybe dealing with people who are just unfair to that woman now that even though she's been reformed. And so God said that he is to marry. He can't get involved with this stuff, the high priest, because he's got to keep his mind and his focus on the Lord. And then we've got a negative mitzvah that will disturb many, especially in our days of the Americans with Disabilities Act, right? Tell Aaron in verse 17, tell Aaron, none of your descendants who has a defect may approach to offer the bread of his God. No one blind, lame, with a mutilated face or a limb too long, a broken foot or a broken arm, a hunched back, stunted growth, a cataract in his eye, festering, running sores, damaged reproductive parts, because he has a defect, so that he may not profane my holy places, because I am Adonai who makes them holy. You see, does God see handicapped people as less thans? No, of course he doesn't. He loves them all. But where God's heart is that he needs a priest who can fully do the job. In today's day and age, if somebody has a handicap, the workplace has to do all they can to account for that handicap and to allow the person to work. And I suppose it works in the workplace. But when it comes to it's a very physical job being a priest. And God says the job is more important than your feelings as a person. And if anything's going to compromise your job as a priest, then you just shouldn't do it. You can do other things. And so God can't have a priest who is, say, paralyzed in one arm for life, and now they can't carry the utensil and they may drop it going from place to place. And God can't have that. And so this is what God does to make a way. So there are more things. I mean, there is more put upon the priest than ever before. And I think God sums it all up about the priests when we get to chapter 22 of Leviticus, and starting in verse 17 and then jumping to 31. Adonai said to Moshe, speak to Aaron and his sons and to the entire people of Israel and tell them, you are to keep my mitzvot and obey them. I am Adonai. You are not to profane my holy name. On the contrary, I am to be regarded as holy, as set apart among the people of Israel. I am Adonai, who makes you holy, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai. And if it's the priests that are really expected to be holy, why is God saying this to Israel, who aren't priests, who aren't the Levites? Because we have to remember that it wasn't that long ago that God had called the entire nation to be a kingdom of priests. He expects the whole nation to be holy and set apart. So he is holding the people of Israel to a standard that's much higher than the world, that's much closer to the priests than it is to the world, even though they're not priests, even though all Israel is not priests. They are held to a higher standard of holiness because they are to be an example. And so this chapter is all about thinking when we call ourselves the people of God. And there's a lot of people who aren't Jewish who say, oh, I'm called to be a priest. And I believe all people who follow in Yeshua's footsteps are to be set apart, are to be holy in their behavior. And we don't want things to get in the way of our holiness, especially our feelings. Boy, our feelings. We talked about feelings for an hour, or at least it was embedded in that hour. And your feelings can be the most dangerous thing, especially when you're going through difficult times in your life, or you feel that life has not been fair to you. And you might actually question God. And the thing, if we're going to be called the priests of the Lord, and we're going to be called holy and set apart people, each and every one of us who follows Yeshua, follows the Lord, does Torah, if we are to be called set apart and holy, we need a whole lot of trust. We have to trust that God is still there and God is still in control, even when we're going through hard times. And his answer may be, you're going to walk through this, but I'm going to walk with you. I want to bring my friends and colleagues in at this point. And, I want to know any of your thoughts about holiness and what we are called to be as the people of God. Is, if we identify with Israel, and I think most of our listeners do, we can't forget the original mission of God to all people who want to hold on to Torah and hold on to the hem of Yeshua's garment, that we are all called to be set apart, to be correctly in our functioning. And so I just want to know, how have you guys regarded holiness and your relationship to it in the past? It's a big question.
I hate the phrase, I'm just a sinner saved by grace, because to me, that's negating what this parsha is all about. Because the Lord says to set yourself apart to him. And if you have set yourself apart to him, then you are not a sinner any longer. Because as John says in 1 John 3:4, that sin is not following Torah. And if you are setting yourself apart, you are not following Torah. I know it's a double negative, but and to me, it's a lifelong process in which it's encapsulated in the phrase, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. And the fear is the fear of the Lord, and trembling is realizing how much you've been forgiven, and that should have a reaction in your feelings and in your psyche that you should be doing the best that you can to set yourself apart, to be the servant of the Lord that has set you apart and has saved you by grace, because he didn't have to. And that's the whole thing. So my goal in life now, once I've realized I'm not a sinner saved by grace, I am a new creation set apart to the Lord, that I am going to do everything that I can, that the Holy Spirit brings to my memory, to my awareness of doing what the Lord wants me to do. And in that case, I have become a priest, because a priest is a person that reflects and that serves the Lord.
Well said.
Good. I like it. Feelings, nothing more than feelings. Yeah. I think that's the problem right there is feelings. We let feelings control us. I'm going to get real deep. I'm just going to go right on into the sode level. Set apart is our foundation. It's either we are set apart or we're not set apart. I mean, it's like a mic drop situation. That's our whole foundation is being set apart. If you're not, then you're any one of a multitude of mediaries. In other words, I'm just playing with this. It's not, the God's law is a suggestion. It's really not something that I have to do. It's one of those situations where I can do what I want to do, but I can go to church on Sunday and now I'm saved, but I'm not set apart. It has nothing to do. What you do does nothing to do with being set apart. It's your whole heart. Is your heart set apart from the worldly ways? The world is our heart set apart from the world and unto God? Are we sanctified unto God or not? And there's no middle ground. I know to me it doesn't have anything to do with sin, because sin is just what we're working out as we try to perfect our walk with God. See, so I'm going to sin. I'm going to do something that is against God's law. It's going to happen, whether I do it inadvertently or on purpose. It's just there. But in my heart, I want to please God, and I want to do these things. I made the commitment to be the person that I am with God, not for God, not for man, not anything. We're kind of in a relationship here, with God. It's not something that is separate from my life. My religion is not separate from my life. My religion is my life. And it's not even a point of even trying to be set apart. To me, it's a point of, where's your heart? If your heart is that this is the life that I want to live, and I will do whatever I need to do to make sure that I continue living this life with God, because I have a relation. It's like your wife, you go through life with your wife, not for your wife or anything else. It's with, because we're partners. We're in a relationship, and the decisions that we make are because of that relationship. And to me, it's exactly the same with God. I'm in a relationship with God, and when I make decisions, it's because of my relationship with God. I have that. I want that. I seek that. I seek to please my partner, my God. I do that. I don't want to please man, because me and man, other people, we don't have a relationship. I don't need you guys to help me make decisions in my life, I need my partner. Okay, well, you say, well, what about your wife? And is she not? Well, yeah, of course, she's a part of that relationship. You know, she's in partnership with me and God. And that's why it's so hard for people that the husband and wife where one of them is totally committed to God and the other one is not. Because now that relationship that you have with God is kind of broken a little bit, because you need that your partner, your worldly partner, to be on the same level and work with you. But to me, that set apart is, I don't ever think about it. It's just a part of that relationship that you have with God. And
yeah. Boy, did you hit the nail on the head, and you really said a lot.
Well, I have 2 hammers, so I'm really good at that.
Wow. You know, because you there's something you said that was so crucial, and that's that we can't just, in a number of words, you said this, we can't just take the set apartness off the shelf when it's convenient.
Yeah.
It's a commitment to a lifestyle. And that means that, boy, can feelings get in the way of being set apart. We have to constantly, I think it's something we do have to think about again and again. And that's what Holy Spirit does for us. Continually reminds us, now watch it, David. Your feelings are going to get in the way of your set apartness.
Yeah.
You're going to have to have a complete reorientation of how to handle and deal with your feelings. And I'm going to help you do it. And so being set apart means the world sees us as reacting differently. And like, look, he gave us Yeshua as our role model for what to do. So when Yeshua is called a blasphemer, when he's accused, sometimes he opens not his mouth and sometimes he does open his mouth. But whatever comes out of his mouth is going to be the absolutely exactly right thing to say, because he does the will of the Father. And so being set apart means being committed with every moment in your life, every trial that comes your way, being part of the priestly class, so to speak. Being set apart means making a commitment. And not just on Saturdays and Sundays, not just when things are going well, but it's all about trusting God in all things and following the ways that he mapped out in Torah.
Yeah.
And the word truth, I believe, is synonymous with faith. So we are saved by faith, but we are saved by trusting in the promises of the Lord. So when we're going through tough times, it's our trust/faith that is taking us through those tough times. So yeah, we trust. That's the whole thing. If you're set apart, you're trusting your partner.
Yeah. See, I think it's possible that God set it up so that the Messianics, the Jews, we all have our church service on Saturday, and then the Christians have their church service on Sunday, because those 2 days are on the weekend. And as we all know, the weekend is for us, so that we can we have to go to work 5 days a week. So we need 2 days that we can do anything we want to do. We can do sports, and we can go out, and we can party with our friends and the whole thing. So to me, I think God put church services on Saturday and Sunday to test us. Are you really committed? Do you want to go out there and do all these crazy party things? Or are you going to sacrifice all of that and go to church on Saturday or Sunday? I think that's the way it was set up.
Wow.
Don't get started on Saturday and Sunday.
Wait, do you think that there was a time in this world when people literally worked 7 days a week, especially if they weren't believers, because that's what they had to do to earn a living? They just worked all the time.
Oh yeah. You look at feudalism, that's all they did was work. And if it wasn't for the church coming and saying, well, we got to have one day for them.
So the one day that people can take off and just get drunk and party and be lazy, God says, no, you're going to spend it with me and you're going to reflect, and you're not even going to make your animals work. What? But this day of work is going to be set apart for me, not just for you to do what you want. 2 minutes. We got to wind it up. But.
Well, I think it's more... It's more that the Lord knew that we needed a day of rest.
Yeah.
Period.
Oh, I read that somewhere.
Period. A day of rest.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so it's like
not partying, huh?
No, a day of rest.
Day of partying.
Yeah.
Well, it could make a difference of whether or not you're in the world or you're going to college. You know, I mean, if you're going to college, you got to have that. Anyway, so there we go. Is that enough for you, David? Is that solve all your issues here with set apart?
Did we give you anything for tomorrow?
What makes you think I have issues? No, you guys gave me a lot. I really appreciate it.
Good. All right. Well, that's what we're here for. And so we'll be back next week. Same channel, same time, same place, same stuff, same old codgers. It's the 3 silver foxes. You know,
we'll change our underwear though.
It's all about the foxes. All right. We'll see y'all next week. God bless.
Shalom, shalom. Shavua tov, everybody.
Shavua tov.
All right.
If you missed today's show or want to watch it again or want to tell someone where they can watch this episode, go to lambnetwork.tv, where you will find this show and all other live Lamb Show archives in the on-demand section of the website. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to tell somebody about the Messianic Lamb Network.
They should be white as snow, white as snow, white wool.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.
White as snow, white as snow.